I want to hear what your life is like today, and then from there jump into early childhood and what that was like.
Oh, today. It's so crazy because like just recently I've actually started to feel free. So for me, it's taken almost 5 years. A lot of people, it takes a year, 2 years. And, I've been saying a lot lately that most of my sobriety has been very painful. I've helped so many people along this way, and I've enjoyed every part of it, but it's been hard. My sobriety's it's been hard. Like it's been very, very difficult. Not going to treatment and just like moving into sober living and just having to do it. It was difficult, and having to deal with the emotions. But today I help women. I'm a fitness trainer. I work for a really good friend of mine, helping her run sober livings, which is amazing. It's so fulfilling and it's helped me grow so much in my recovery. I'm in a beautiful relationship today. I have my own car and my own name.
Your own car.
My own car.
The boss.
Sometimes I'll say the R's and sometimes I'll say the I's. It just depends. I pay my own bills. I pay my own rent. And that's only been happening, I can tell you, full adult mode since last December. It's like I officially got my own apartment last December. I officially am like been fully adulting for almost a year. I've never done that. And I'm at peace today, and it took a lot of work for me to get here. I work with a lot of women and when is it going to get better? And I'm struggling and this is so difficult. And I try to identify and relate because I struggle with mental health a lot. That's a huge part of my story in sobriety. So it's been hard. It's been really hard, and I've continued to like not stop. And thankfully, by the grace of God, I have had an amazing job the past 5 years and, where I'm still at because it was able to like be of service and get outside of myself. Yeah. And I'm actually in this era of giving myself more credit. And I say that humbly because I don't really, how do I say this? Like I was in therapy the other day and I was like, I don't realize how much I went through. I don't realize that it's not easy for people to just like go to sober living and get sober after a 6.5 year run. Like it doesn't, because it was so easy for me at the point because I was so done. I don't realize it's not common. And I was like, wow, I'm so used to giving everybody else credit.
Yeah.
And building everybody else up and just like praying and just continuing to going. And now I'm like, I'm going to start giving myself more credit. Yeah. I'm going to start building myself up more. And it's not that I have low self-esteem and I'm not confident. It's just being an attention seeker most of your life. You want to like, I've done the complete opposite since I've been sober. Just like put it on everybody else. Yeah. Let me help everyone else. But I didn't realize like, wow, and that's a lot of the reasons why I want to share my story is because I want people to understand like it's not easy, and I've made it look very easy. I've made it look very easy. And it's not, because I'm the kind of person like I shield it all. Mm-hmm.
I do the same thing.
I shield it all and it's not easy. Mm-hmm. Like I have people be like, oh, do you even struggle? I'm like, what?
Do I struggle? But it's almost like when we're using towards the end, everyone knew I was using.
Yeah.
But for a while, I was able to keep up that facade.
Yeah.
And like I had the jobs. No, Kevin doesn't have a problem. He has a corporate job in New York City. He's doing great. And I was able to hide it.
For having
no, exactly. So in recovery, I did the same thing. And like you can't save your ass and your face at the same time.
It's difficult. And it's been, my whole life has been about being good on the outside since the time I came out the womb. Like you are taught to it's just a behavior. Like everything looks good on the outside. So I have kept up a strong face for a few years now just to help other people. Now, if you're in my circle, my close, I'm very particular with who I share like the most details. Like you'll know how much I've struggled, but I held it on because like for the greater good. I don't know what God was trying to have me do. I don't, I'm not super religious. I'm very spiritual. I just use the word God. God's wearing Jordans. Like, that's my boy.
Your Jordans are actually.
I have a few.
Yeah.
I have a few.
Your shoes are dope.
Yeah, I have a few in the closet. And I don't know. Sometimes I don't understand how I made it this long with my mind. I don't know, like in my sobriety. Like I'm so blown away because I look around sometimes and I didn't realize until this summer how much I wasn't filling up my own cup. Work kind of got a little bit slower, and I went through a little bit of a breakup. It was a temporary thing. Like, I have a phenomenal relationship. We'll touch on that after. Yeah. But I didn't realize how much I wasn't filling my own cup up. I lost myself in my job. But the thing is, I'm grateful that I did because I get distracted. I get so distracted. So I was tunnel vision. Prayed, called a sponsor, and did my job. And my job was service. I worked in service. I've worked in service. I work in service now, and I love it. I love what I do. But I didn't realize I wasn't filling my own cup up at the same time. I wasn't building up my own life, which is probably why I was always fucking up at my job. But I spent a lot of years in the doghouse. But that job built me.
Yeah.
That job raised me. My boss, she raised me. She helped me grow into the woman that I am today. She really, really did. And I'm grateful. Not many people have the mentor that I had when I came in. It's very godly how it happened. And like, I'm grateful that I was under her wing and I was lost in my job and I just did that. Yeah. I didn't build a life till this summer. I finally have my own life. I didn't realize how important that was to have friends, to do activities, to go to the movies, to go to the beach, to, just fill up your own cup. I was pouring into everyone else. And again, I say it gratefully because it's a goddamn miracle that I didn't go back out when you look at it like that, because going that long without filling your own cup is not easy for many people.
Hey guys, quick update. Every Monday night, I host the Rise Above Recovery meeting. It's an open meeting for any addiction, alcohol, drugs, gambling, food, whatever you're struggling with, you're welcome here. To get the meeting link and weekly updates, just email me at kevin@riseabovepod.com and I'll add you to the list. Also, if this podcast has helped you, please like, subscribe, or leave a rating. It helps us continue to spread the message of hope. Lastly, if you'd like to go even deeper with Rise Above, check out our Patreon. Supporters get access to live interviews and can chat with guests after the interview. Thank you. You're going to implode. Like, you're just going to...
Yeah. And I don't know how I did it. But God, that's the only way.
Yeah.
God had bigger plans because I made it to the other side and now I'm filling my own cup up. And because I'm filling my own cup up, I'm showing up way better as a friend. I'm showing up even better for my job so I can show up even better for the girls that I help every day. You know what I mean? Like, everyone else is happier now because I'm filling my own cup.
Yep. So you bring up a good point because I had the same experience. Probably year 4, year 5 in sobriety is when I really started to get it.
Yeah.
And started to reap the benefits, but I still had to continue with the action to get those benefits.
Yeah.
And I also, for the listeners who are using right now and want to potentially get sober, I don't want to make it sound daunting or like your life does not get better until year 4, because that sounds horrible. What I do want to say is my life got better instantly the moment I made the decision to stop drinking and drugging, but it was a journey from day 1 to year 4 or 5.
Yes.
It's still a journey.
Yes.
And you talked about all these different things. It's life on life's terms.
Correct.
And the beautiful thing is, and what I'm gathering is you wouldn't want it any other way because you learn so many different things. Yeah. It's like when I used to play football, I used to dread going to summer camp,
Yeah.
doing,
Double
the
sessions,
double
whatever,
session. And
yeah.
I'm like, oh, and then the games we would play, and then we'd have an awesome season. Then I would look back at the season and I would like, it would be like nostalgic.
Yeah.
And I'd be like,
God,
that was like the best
the
time of my
best.
life.
Yeah.
That's kind of what
Yeah.
this is like.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to highlight that and say that
Yeah.
because your life does get better and it's who you surround yourself with.
Correct.
That sober community that you built. And
Yeah.
it sounds like you built a phenomenal community.
I did. And what I say, and to your point, is like I tell a lot of people, everyone says, when does it get better? And it's like, I don't know when, you just keep going.
Yeah.
Because like you said, my life instantly got better because things just happen. God continued to reveal, like if you just don't pick up, and like that sounds stupid, but at the same time, like you just gotta keep trugging, keep trudging along, whatever the word is, keep trudging along, and it just gets better time over time. And I like to also say, like, you can have anything that you want.
Yes.
I manifested everything
Facts.
that I wanted. Like I prayed, side note, I've never missed a night hitting my knees in almost 5 years. Never. And I constantly pray for other people, and I constantly just invite what I want in my life today. And I have it. Every single year around my anniversary, I've continued to manifest something new. And it's like, I wanted to do this. Okay. I wanted to work for the woman I'm working for, but before I ever even lived at her house, I was like, I'm going to work for that woman someday. And 3 months later, I moved into her house. By 6 months, I was her in-house manager. By 13 months, I was residential. Like I manifested it. Wasn't always easy. I gave her a run for her money, but she built me. And it continues to just get better. And like when you say my community, so by the grace of God, I came down in 2014. And I did a little bit of sobriety. I met a lot of people, but I'm the kind that like, Arayelle's going to do what Arayelle wants to do. And like, when I'm done, I'll be done. But I continue to call certain people throughout my addiction. Like I have one friend, I'd call her every other month and I'd just be talking about God, lit. I'd be lit, coked out of my mind or something, talking about God, reading my big book, like talking about God, watching Steve Harvey's inspirational videos, lit. But it was the seed that like was implanted in me. So when I decided to come back, I had people I could call because they all stayed sober. I had people I could call, and I got into their sober living, and I just continued to like find different people to surround myself with, and some people I was around in my first year, I'm not around now. The ones that are there, the ones that aren't, because at the end of the day, everyone serves a purpose, and everybody is part of your journey, and it continues to go, and who's meant to be will stay. But I've invited certain people into my life, and I'm very limited because it's not about the quantity. It's about the quality of the relationships that you have.
Yeah.
And that's very, very important to me, is like who I surround myself with. And I try to go to like my spiritual, like God, because I don't know how to explain it. It just all works.
Yeah.
Like I see things, if you're seeking it, it's going to be there. And that's the cool thing, is my whole life from the time I was little, regardless of the religious trauma, that's a whole nother thing when we get to childhood. Like I've always heard God. Even when I was in active addiction, I always heard God. Always. Like I've never thought anything was a coincidence. And that's just something beautiful that like I'm grateful for. I don't know what it is. I just never listened. Like I just never listened. I see the spiritual attacks. I see, the good things, the bad and the ugly, whatever. I see when the devil's trying to disguise himself as God, because like I'm very in tune. And that's cool. That's a blessing, and it's something that I have adapted even more and more. It's grown more and more, because it's more than just like, oh, it's a sign from God. It's like, no, like I feel it. Like I can see it. Like
You're aware.
I'm very aware. My therapist, I'm in therapy for the first time in 5 years. I've never been in therapy.
It's amazing.
Finally decided to
Therapy's the best.
I finally decided to make the jump.
How many sessions are you in?
I go once a week.
Okay.
She's out of town this week and next week.
And you just started?
I started in January.
Okay, so this year.
Yeah, I started right after my anniversary.
So you've been reaping some of the benefits. What has it been like?
Therapy?
Yeah.
It's been good.
Oh
It's
boy.
it's it's nice to like talk to somebody about like really the depths of my mind because I'm a deep thinker. And it's not that I obsess. It's not that I overthink. It's just like sometimes I really deep think and analyze things. I'm an analyzer. I'm a very self-aware. I like to like really get in tune with like my emotions and like see like the blueprints of why things happened. Like we've started EMDR and it's super cool the relations that most of my shit stems from my dad, um you know, but it's nice that like a therapist can tell you like your brain is amazing. Like the way I break down things is ways that a lot of people don't. And hearing that from a therapist, hearing that from my sponsor, hearing that from people in my life, like that's cool, because she's really like brought me back, because I sometimes with my mental health and like a lot of people struggle with it, but the way that my thoughts go, sometimes I'm like, I'm a walking oxymoron in my head on a daily basis. But
Same.
yeah, like I don't believe half the shit I'm thinking. It's not real, but it still goes through my brain, even though it's not real.
I can relate.
Like it's not even real, but those thoughts are there all the time while I'm working in service,
Yeah.
while I'm having, like that's what goes on back there. It's more than just like anxiety and like, it's just like a constant processing machine. And my therapist has helped me like she's validated that that's okay and that you're just analyzing situations, you're being aware, you're observing, you're making sure you understand everything that's going on around you. That's why you've grown so much. That's why you've been able to get where you're at, because you look at every perspective of what's going on. Because that's the thing. Everyone has a different perspective. It's up to us to be willing to understand everybody's perspective so we can get along, because you and I are never going to have the same perspective. We're just not. We all have different minds, but it's being able to be like, oh, okay, that's cool. I see how you see that. Oh, okay, that's cool. I see how you see that. So that it's not right, wrong. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, being open-minded is
Being
everything.
open-minded is everything, and that's a lot of the reassurance that therapy has done for me.
Yeah.
I needed that because I relied a lot on some people's validations for a long time, and it all stems back to dad. Queen of daddy issues. It all stems back to dad.
You're hilarious.
It just, my mom said it the other day. She's like, oh, there's my daddy issue, girl. I said,
Queen of
Mom,
daddy issues.
100%. Yeah, it just is what it is, and I give him grace.
I appreciate you being vulnerable and saying that.
Yeah, I know.
Because there are so many people out there struggling, boys, girls, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then this is a great segue. Let's go back to early childhood.
All right.
You're from Boston.
I am.
What was early childhood like?
Oh, shit. It's funny because my dad called me on the way here, and that's a spiritual attack for me. I said, Dad, I got to call you back. And it's difficult because I'm sure that my family will see this, and it is what it is. That side. There's certain things because growing up, my parents were 20, 21 when they had me. They were young. So I give them grace. My mom, my road dog, my rock. I give that woman so much credit for being a single mom doing adulting. That's funny. Childhood was different. There's certain things that I remember, the fighting between my mom and my dad. My dad was abusive. He was. And he would come to pick me up. My parents were married, had me and divorced within like the first year. And, I think they might have tried to work it out a little bit, but there was just so much constant fighting. And my mom's too strong for that. She dealt with it enough times and she's like, I'm done. She's happily gay today. And I love that for her. Like, love whoever you want, Ma, just be happy. Cause she's been through a lot. And I had my dad's side, very religious, Christianity. But a lot of them preach so much. But the things that went on in that family were just not the same as what everyone's preaching. and to say that though is exactly why I'm able to be so godly without the Bible, because I was always very accepted with my addiction. So it's, it can be very confusing sometimes. The stuff with my dad, it can be difficult because I'm fine. I know what I remember, and he'll say otherwise. But like my dad would come to pick me up and take me for the weekend. I think I remember some of these images, and I was young, and tell me I can't take you and then walk away. Like, why the fuck are you gonna come do you know what I'm saying? Like that's the start of an abandonment issue, because our brains develop so young. I can remember him supposed to be taking me to go see the fireworks on 4th of July. And I remember those bright orange shorts like it was yesterday, being on the platform for the subway in Boston. And there he is making out with some other girl who wasn't even his girlfriend at the time. Like things like that. And all I wanted to do was like, my heart was so broke as a little girl that I turned my emotions off when I was like 7 years old. I will never forget that, like, they were off. And that is why for 30 years, I could just live. Like, my life was like, I was chilling, you know what I mean? Like, I lived like a shit show and did whatever, was selfish, didn't care about anybody else, and just did what I wanted to do because I didn't care. I had no feelings inside. My mom picked up the pieces. She never spoke ill will of my dad. She let me figure that one out on my own.
Wow.
She didn't. She just never did.
That's a good mom.
Yeah, I believe I was only, and don't quote me, but I think I was only court ordered to go over every other weekend when that stuff, like kids, what's that thing called?
Co-parenting?
No, they didn't co-parent. Custody. I think it was every other weekend. My mom let me go every weekend, and my dad lived with my Nana and my Papa. My Nana, God, she's amazing. But it's difficult when you watch everyone around you on that side of the family always pretending everything's okay. And I knew from a young age, like watching, like that stuff's not normal. Like men aren't supposed to hit women. Men aren't supposed to cheat. Like as a little girl, I'm thinking this. Like I remember thinking this, but I just wanted my dad to love me, accept me. I wanted to be my dad. So I grew up to be my dad. That was what happened. I developed into the player. I developed into the narcissist. I developed into I was a full-blown narcissist. And I can honestly say that. I wasn't the woman that got emotionally attached to men. I was the one that emotionally destroyed men, or would cheat on anybody. I'm in the first relationship I've ever been in, and I've never been what's the word? I've never been disloyal, whatever.
Yeah, this is the first relationship you've been in where you've been 100% loyal.
100%.
That's amazing.
Growing up and just watching all that stuff, I was like, dude, I don't care. I'll deal with it later. And, my mom just being my rock. And, my mom being a single mom and doing what she did, because mind you, I was a competitive cheerleader for 16 years. So she also funded all that.
Yeah.
Because my dad did not pay child support. My mom's a god. Being able to do all that and do what she did, because we grew up together. They had me when they were 20,
That's
21.
Crazy, yeah. It's young.
It's young, and that's why I choose to give my dad grace today, but I also, I keep my relationship where I need it to be, because anything, he still can mess with my mind. I allow it. Not him never showing up to cheerleading competitions, him never showing up to just all the different things, he swears to this day still that he made it to all of them, but it's like, no, you didn't. I've been in thousands. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
The things that I've seen, I was your daughter, not your friend. So knowing the different girlfriends, and just, he taught me, without even knowing he was teaching me, he taught me how to cheat.
Yeah. Kids observe, kids see that stuff.
Because when I hit 13, 14, is when I really started being like, yo, fuck you. What? Because I would challenge. People didn't challenge my dad really, because he's the kind like, this chair is black, but if he says it's white, it's white. It's like, no, it's not though. And I challenge, and that's the thing. I still struggle with it today because I just want to like, someone needs to teach him or show him like, because that's not okay. Like it goes back to being open-minded and willing. It's like, it's not just your way. There's other ways, like there's other ways. It is what it is, and I think that that's why I am so raw today, because by the grace of God, I grew up with my mom and a house full of lesbians all the time. And I had like that free spirit over there. And because for a while, being as brutally honest, I think was more like, I don't want to say revenge, but like out of spite. Like that family, it's like, and I love my family, don't get it twisted, but I didn't, the things that we don't just smile and make it look like everything's okay. Like that's not normal, because that to me, because you live your life forwards, you understand it backwards. That took me for the next 30 years of pretending. Everything has to look good on the outside. You don't leave without makeup on. You're a competitive cheerleader now, then you're a stripper, and then you have sugar daddies, and like then you're a drug dealer, and you wonder why you're living, because everything's great. I'm just a free-for-all. And that it took me 30, like I just over the past few years started getting my emotions back and identifying them. Hence why it's been a little bit of a rough recovery.
Of course.
It's been difficult. It was difficult, and it's still something I'm still working through. Like I have a difficult time calling my family, because I'm in such a peaceful place, and that's a lot of why I'm in therapy. Because who doesn't just want to call their dad and have good conversations? I remember being lit, and because I was lit most of the time when I was high, I'd call my dad randomly, and you can have these great, when people are high for days, they have spiritual moments.
I can talk to anyone.
Anyone, especially about some spiritual epiphanies and shit. I would call my dad when I'm high, because obviously the little girl inside me just wanted to call my dad. And for the longest time until I got sober, I didn't realize that my childhood, it's not that it wasn't normal because it's mine. That's a lot for a kid. I have siblings today. They've grew up with my dad. My parents didn't talk. They are not, it wasn't a lot,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful for like my dad's mom, my Nana, because through a lot of my active addiction, she would come get me if I needed her to. She would let me kick cold turkey at our house. She knew about the stripping. She knew about the lifestyles. Like she knew, and she loved me unconditionally no matter what. So that is why a lot of my relationship with God today is so easy, regardless of the things, without whatever the actual Bible says, because of how that family loved me unconditionally, because of that woman. I don't care what the fucking Bible says, and I do. I'm working through that right now. It's a whole nother thing, because but at the same time, like, that's why I'm able to just love unconditionally, because of that woman, even though she was the first person to teach me, like, everything's perfect on the outside, because she held it together for the whole family. She was the glue. So, like, there's a lot of different dynamics from it, and that's why I am so loving, so godly. So I'm full of gray areas. Full of them, because we are all individuals. We are all our own people. And it's amazing that I can be like that today, coming out of that.
How old were you when you took your first drink or drug?
I think 14 or 13. I was a cheerleader. I was cheerleader through high school, and that we had fun times. We drank, we partied, we smoked weed, and cheerleading was lit. I mean, high school was lit for me, Like I lived and it's funny because I went back to Boston in April, and I hadn't been back in 7 years. I forgot I had a whole life back there. I've been down here and getting sober, doing my own thing, and forgot I had a whole life and like family. Like I run around down here like I'm a goddamn orphan sometimes. And people are like, you have siblings? You have family? You were a cheerleader? You what? Because I don't speak on all that usually. I usually just, like, when I speak at meetings, it's usually on the emotional stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really get into my story like that because we've all had it. So I started drinking in high school, partying, fun, you know, cheerleading, football games, yada, 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 yada. But most of my behaviors, I wasn't addicted back then. It was just the weekend stuff, like normal, you know. But my behaviors, the isms, started a long before. Like I told you, I learned how to cheat, lie, and deceive at a very young age. You know, losing my virginity at 13. Like, I slept with everybody. You know, I would sleep with your boyfriend, and I didn't care who I was hurting. Not a care in the world. Not even comprehending that, you know? It's like, I didn't care. And I 2 stories. I'll never forget, I lost my virginity to this one girl's boyfriend in a basement, 0 fucks. And, she was on a cheerleading team. Like, she was on Methuen, I was on Salem, and we were doing something, and they were all, like, yelling slut while I'm, like, on the mat, right? And my coach at the time, one of my coaches called my mom, and I'm just like, "Yeah, I don't whatever." Like, not a care. Like, these are people I cheer with. You know what I mean? Like, team, right? You're supposed to be a team and, like, cheer and things like that. No care. I think I slept with a good amount of their boyfriends.
Whatever.
You know? But high school was good. I'll never forget, too, a rival team sent in all kinds of pictures from all of our MySpaces at the time. We had MySpace back
It's
then.
like 06.
Yeah, 06. And we were the Girls Gone Wild of Salem, New Hampshire. Because it was funny. Like, good little stories like that. But those were my behaviors were the thing. I like to say this. I say this very often. I was an ugly person before drugs and alcohol. I was an ugly person before the addiction took off. I just was. Like, those aren't cool. And, like, I also love to say this. I don't speak ill will of how I was raised, who I was raised by, or anything. Like, I love my own family unconditionally because they're mine. They're mine, you know? But I also have to speak up for people that have struggled the way I've struggled. Because putting on an act for as long as I have, or the way I felt for so long, or not felt, like, that's not easy. Because I'm 36 years old now, and I've been trying to, like, I came in and had to learn what emotions and feelings were. I've never had them. Ever. I wasn't using to numb anything. I will say this too. I wasn't using and drinking to numb my feelings. I didn't have them. I started getting high because I liked the effects. I was a self-harmer. That is what eventually I led myself to. But no, I got high and I drank because I liked it.
So you graduate high school.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do after high school?
Ooh. Stripping academy.
So you were like, okay, I'm going to go become a stripper.
When I got out of high school, I don't know, I was a server, bartender, whatever, raver, partier, whatever, you know? And then eventually I didn't strip at a club back home. There's like bachelor party companies. It's like a thing.
Is that how you got started?
Yeah.
You said, fuck it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's good money.
Yeah. I don't even remember. You know, there's blogs
Someone
up
told
there.
you about it.
Someone told me about it, and it was, you know, I worked for a company, and like 2 girls would go with the driver, and yeah, I made good money. Especially up there, like during certain seasons, if there's snow season, if there's bachelor parties, if there's ski season, like it's whatever. I made a killing. I made good money because you have to understand, like I was a junkie, but I wasn't a street junkie. Like I held it together. I had these when I was getting high, you know, and hold on, backtrack.
Well, yeah, were you getting high right off the bat, or were you just like, hey, this is...
When I got out of high school, I met somebody. He was a friend of a friend or whatever. He was doing pills. And at first I didn't want to try one. And then I'll never forget I did. I met my first real boyfriend I met him, he was out on bail.
What kind of pills?
Roxy's.
Okay.
And 80s.
Okay,
OC80s.
The original OC80s, the green
OC80s,
monsters.
yes.
Okay.
and then the blues, the original 30s. That was it. A couple 30s and it was great. You know what I mean? Like I was gonna go there regardless, you know what I mean? I drank and I rolled and I just was a partier. I had fun. Like that was back then. I mean, like it was fun. Um, and then I found a felon, a drug dealer. He was cute, skinny, a lot of tattoos, and I don't even know how that all started, but he had pills and I started them and then it was, there we go. It was every weekend and then it was more and more and then it was more and more. And then I'll never forget because he was out on bail for 9 months and he was going to prison for, I think it was 2 to 6, or 2 to 4 years. And when he went to prison, I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to stop getting high because I wasn't funding my drug habit. That didn't happen. He went to prison and I kept getting high. I was like, fuck. Got high with his parents. I got just whatever. Like, I kept going. Yeah. The whole time this man was in prison, I'm still getting high. Like, I have a thing with felons. Still getting high. It rolled from there. And then that's how I eventually found, I'm a networker. Even in the streets, I'm a networker because like I wasn't going to not have money, not get through. I don't know. I turned into a hustler very quick, and flipping was very easy for me. I didn't realize like I started at a very young age. Like you can buy a couple hundred packs of pills and flip them, make a good chunk of money. And, that's why like I never sold my body for fucking drugs. That's crazy. You sell your body for money. Because you can buy more drugs than the drug dealer is going to give you for the amount of, you know what I'm saying? That's stupid.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so that's how that started. So like, yeah, I mean, I could make a quick flip, make my money, have my supply plus stripping, and I was chilling. Now I could have done better with it, but I was a drug addict at the same time. So and there was like, I want to say from age 21. Age 25 or 6 was in Boston. That was before I moved. And that was just chaos. That was the Roxy's, the 80s, led to the heroin, led to the crack, boyfriend in prison, boyfriend on the streets, you name it.
Before you started, you eventually started working in a strip club?
No, I never worked in a strip club.
So you only did these parties?
I did up north. I only did the parties. I worked in a strip club down here in Florida for like a few months. It wasn't my thing.
What was it like going? Do you remember the first call that you went to? Yeah. And like you've never done it before?
No, and I remember.
And what was that like?
See, I loved attention. So, and I'm a very outgoing person. It was cool. Loved it. Fun. I'm always drinking under substances. Now, I do remember, I think I was a little too tipsy, and I went to do a flip up on somebody and busted my ass. The first show, and I was like, okay, so we're going to have to get better at that. And I did. I got really good at it, actually, but that was my first one, I was like, damn it. And
were they laughing?
Yeah. And there was like hundreds of guys. That's the thing. Like they're big parties. Like the company I worked for was really cool. Like JR was awesome. You make good friends with the boss. Of course, the more drugs I did, the less he put me on the good shows. Cause he's like, mind you, my stripper name was Jade. That was my name for a very long time. Was Jade. But yeah, and it was only sometimes you did it on the weekends. I didn't really do shows during the week. I did them on the weekends. When I was doing when I had my good moments on my uses, I got better shows. When I was not working so hot, he'd put me on the worst ones. Cause I had like ups and downs, there's so many different chapters of my drug addiction and so many different like phases of it. That was more the like speedballing hardcore phase, just running around Manchester, New Hampshire, just out of control. Yeah, but the dancing was, a strip club wasn't my thing. I don't know how I found these parties, but like, they weren't just parties.
What was the craziest thing that you encountered at one of these parties?
Oh God, I mean, the whole party was insane anyways. It's hard to say because there's so many blackouts in my brain. You know, I just can say that most of them were always insane.
Yeah.
You know, they're games. Like there's pussy pickup, there's anal ring toss, there's double-sided dildos, there's like it's crazy. Like that was what I did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Most of the time, those ones like the men didn't really touch you like that, which was cool because you make all this money and like you're not. But of course, you network and you connect and you take men's numbers. But I didn't really have any crazy things happen that I can remember off the top of my head. To be honest with you, they were all pretty simple. I think
Controlled
Yeah,
environments.
you know, I was friends with the drivers and like they were all really controlled environments for the
That's
most
great.
part. You know, watch me get some messages later after this post, and they're like, "Don't you remember this?"
Jade, you don't remember
You don't remember
this?
that? You know, because one of my really, really childhood good friends, he actually came around. He was, I was like, "Oh, you want a job driving?" Because he was bouncers at strip clubs and stuff. So he was there for a while. So I did a lot of shows with him too. So he was around.
What is pussy pickup?
So you put a $20, $50, $100 bill on the man's face and like you crease it and you pick it up.
With it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Were you good at that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there was some I look back and I'm like, what the? Because that was like the first phase of my addiction, you know, was those parties. So I stopped around like 25 or 26 when the next phase. But yeah, it was interesting.
So take us through the next phase.
So after that phase is when, you know, it got worse, heroin, crack. My mom, actually a really good friend of mine, he found the treatment center down here and he helped my mom and he sent me down. And that's when I came to Florida for the first time. I think it was 2014. Because
As Jade or Arayelle?
As Arayelle.
Okay.
Because Jade had to put up her shoes because the year before I came, 2013, the ex was getting out of prison. I was with somebody else the whole time till the ex was getting out of prison. I got knocked up. I was having an abortion, but I was telling them both. It was a whole thing. And, you know, I was like, at this point, remember now, I don't have emotions and feelings. So, like, I just was, like, living. And then eventually after all that, you know, I got shipped out. Mind you, like, I speak on the abortion thing really quick is because I even think about it now. I'm so glad that I did it. I'm so glad that didn't happen. Like, you look back and you're like, wow, there was no way. And not a doubt in my mind, you know, not a doubt in my mind. And I'm just grateful that I did go through with that. It wasn't even a second thought. I was like, oh, we got to figure this out quick. But yeah, then I came to treatment down in Florida, 2014. Did that little spiel, you know, first time in Florida. I don't know if you've ever had, well, no, you were sober when you came down. So like your first time in Florida high, not so much. So, you know, I did get a little bit of time, like 6 months, went back out, found my first run in Florida. I do not recommend it, you know, because even with all my skills, you know, all my active addiction skills, you know, it was not easy. It was not easy. And I was like, no. Went to my second treatment center and then I got sober for like 8 months. And it wouldn't say it was like full sobriety. Like it was cool. It's how I got networked into like the first time being down here and you know, the 12-step program and things like that and meeting people. But I was abusing my meds, you know, gabapentin, Johnny's and Red Bull. That was a thing back then, you know. That was our whippets. Today these kids are using whippets. Back then we were doing gabapentin. And I quickly went back out, you know, and I quickly found myself in Tennessee, you know, so I move around a lot, you know, because I can, single, no kids, I can do whatever I want.
Why Tennessee?
My mom was in Tennessee. So
in Memphis?
She was outside of Nashville in Murfreesboro. So backwards, the whole time I'm running around Boston, my mom moved. she was like, I'm out. I don't know what you got going on. She had gotten a job in Tennessee and she went down there. She was in Kentucky first. She was in Tennessee. I had spent a week in Kentucky. I was having stuff shipped to me in the mail. Like, it wasn't a thing. So eventually when I did go to Tennessee, I was there 2 years. I think I was there 2 years. But, I got a job serving. My mom she was with Best Buy 20 something years. So, I was always plugged in. My mom was always plugged in. So I always had good people, good community. Murfreesboro was a really cool place. And a few months in, I had some sobriety time and, I was drinking, but I wasn't like on the hard drugs. And a few months into being in Tennessee, I found it because I know I can pick it out like that. And looking back then, I'll never forget the car he got out of, what he got out of. I never forget he had just gotten out of prison after a 4-year bid. And that would take off the next 6 years of my life. Yeah, he was my friend, my boy, like a drug dealer. But we had this like Bonnie and Clyde connection. All day, every day for the next 6 years of my life would be with that man. I'm going to get vulnerable with this one because this is one of the most like hard parts of my story, because he's, doing 20 years right now. I believe you can have more than one love of your life. I am with the love of my life now, but he was one of the loves of my life and a different kind, in that Bonnie and Clyde, A1, day one, that was my road dog, my boy. And I believe if it wasn't for him, I would have started smoking crack again. I would have been shooting heroin. Yes, I was sniffing coke all day and I could drink when I wanted and do what I wanted. But because of our reputation and our lifestyle, I didn't go to the hard drugs, and I had money around me. I had coke around me all the time. I could have cooked it at any time and I didn't. I didn't. I stayed off of it and I'm grateful for that. I am very grateful regardless of the toxicity because mind you, I'm a narcissist. He's a narcissist. I'm not faithful. He's not faithful. It was a shit show. You know what I mean? It was a shit show. I'm so grateful for that relationship.
Being with him, were there any attempts on like, people trying to rob him or?
Yeah. There was a few times where a lot of the times when things happened, I had just gotten out. So like we were together for, I think a year after or 2 years after, because I know prior I had told you I went back and forth.
To jail?
No. So he was out. We were together for 2 years and I decided it was starting to get bad again because our relationship was so chaotic. So much chaos. Like it was just chaotic. So I would leave and I'd come to Florida and like hide out down
Got
here.
it.
And he would get pulled over and he would get arrested or something would get searched or things like that. And I would come back and I would leave. And I know one of his baby mamas, there was something that happened there. Like I always got out. And it was definitely God. It was definitely God. I always got out. But it was rough. I got jumped over him once.
You got jumped?
Yeah.
By a man or?
By a girl. Yeah, a girl.
What happened?
I don't remember. I really don't. I just remember getting jumped and I was like, yo, what just happened? Because when I got to Tennessee, a lot of women didn't like me. A lot of people didn't like me because I'm from Boston. It's a small town. Like I'm from Boston and my ex, not many people could get close to him. And I could. I don't know what it was, and I could get close to him. And it's a different breed out there in Tennessee. It's a very different breed. And, I have chills because like when I set this up with you, I wasn't thinking. And then next thing you know, I'm going back for the first time in 5 years. I haven't been back. I haven't been back. And it's been a difficult road because, being able to get away from all of it was hard. That was a very difficult relationship. You look back and I'm like, wow, when I was in it, I didn't think I was ever going to not be in it. And now I'm like so grateful that I'm not. And there's a lot that comes with this relationship. Like I told you, situation, relation. Like, in the end of the day, it was a relationship with somebody. But, he had baby mamas that, like, had their lives together and all this stuff. And, he was the drug dealer that had never dated a drug addict. And I'm the drug addict who, like, had always had drug dealers, But there was something about that kept me under wraps. Now, when I got to Tennessee and got involved in this relationship, I was kind of like I am now, outgoing, like, owned my shit. I don't care, whatever. Like, I owned the things that I did. I don't care if yes, I sold myself. I don't care. But the more honest I got and the more I was and the closer we got, the more he used it against me and the more he would beat me down. And that was when, for the first time, I actually really started to lose myself. Like, I've always been somebody, like I told you, no emotions, I own it, whatever. But the more I got verbally abused, because it wasn't physical, there was like 2 physical altercations with him and I. It was all verbal. And that's when the self-harm started. That's when I started cutting, like, very bad. Because I didn't want to shoot up. I didn't want to smoke crack. I liked the lifestyle. I liked what I was doing. And I started cutting. That was when I started self-harming the most, and it just got worse. And I would come to Florida for 2 years, and then I would come back here. And, all throughout that time, I've had sugar daddies and I've had my own stuff, and it's just been chaos. Like, chaos. But, like, we were so sick, we couldn't stay away. And I'm talking, if I didn't live in this state, on the phone all day, every day, and fighting and arguing and not. Or if we were together. And there was just so much in between it all. It was crazy.
What was the most amount of money you made from a sugar daddy, allowance wise?
I had a really good one down here, and he paid for my apartment. He bought me my car. I had, my drug supply. I could get whatever I needed. I had all my booze. I had my car wash membership. My nails were done every regular. I didn't have to sleep with this man.
You didn't?
No, this one, he liked dominatrix stuff. That was his thing. He liked that kind of stuff.
You just had to beat the shit out of him.
Beat, toys, whatever.
Yeah.
He just liked certain things.
How old was he?
He was in his 50s.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm heterosexual. I'll beat the shit out of a dude for like 20, 30 grand a month.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, the amount of money he gave me was insane. Just, like, all the time. All the time.
Did his wife know?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I don't know if he's still alive. I wonder. I taught him how to smoke crack.
Oh.
He was a coke businessman, was his thing. Yeah.
And then he just leaped over.
Yeah. So I had him paying for my apartments. I had the other one in Tennessee. And there was a lot. They both know about each other. It was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Sick.
So let's fast forward to COVID.
Yes.
You're 30, 31-ish at this point. Take us through, this is when you start you get sober.
Yeah,
take us through the last month of using, and then take us through how you got sober.
COVID, I'm in Memphis, which is where I'm about to go back to. Me and the ex at this point, I've wild out, where he's like, the true drug addict in me was out, that he had never seen. So even he didn't want to be around me. I started putting a needle back in my arm. I started smoking crack again, and it wasn't the same anymore. It was different. The drugs were different. Why
was it different?
Well, from what I've been told and what I was starting to hear was fentanyl. They were starting to put little bits of fentanyl in it, and I was like, what? And the other part of this, and I share this, why it was different this time is because for the 10 years of my addiction, I could put on the act. I could make my money. I could give myself to men and put on the act and get taken care of. This was the first time I was tired. I didn't have it in me anymore. I didn't. And when COVID hit, I wasn't bartending and serving anymore. So I would sleep. I would start sleeping with this one drug dealer just to get high. And I was like, to me, that's not me, because most of my addiction, I would sell myself for money, because you got to remember, I've dated drug dealers. I've been in the game. I do understand. I know how to move, whatever. That's insane. the amount of money you can make and buy your own little drugs versus what a drug dealer is going to give you to fuck them, it's stupid. And like, but I didn't have it in me, so the drugs were worse. My soul was empty. I didn't even have it in me to like do what I used to do to keep afloat my addiction. That's not me. I don't get homeless. I can't. That's not me. I love getting high, but not at that extent. And that's when it got bad. The cutting was bad. It was just all bad. It was awful. I didn't have it in me anymore. And I made some phone calls down here, some people I knew, and I came down.
Willingly.
Yeah, willingly. Now, granted, it took me a few months to really get it figured out because I wasn't going to treatment. I didn't have insurance. I got off the plane and my girl, a friend of mine picks me up. She's like, I can't move you into the house like this. I said,
you were a mess.
Yeah. She's like, you're not sober. I was like, oh, yeah, I know. So it took me a minute. The first person I call is like my drug dealer from Florida. I was like, oh, hey, let me get a little bit more in me. So, it took me a minute, moved into sober living, got 3 months under my belt, went back out, went to Tennessee for 2 weeks, saw my ex. And then, of course, that didn't last, not at all. And then I came back, moved into sober living. I've been sober ever since. And a lot of it is because I was in that relationship and was trying to figure out because I was really starting to make a change, and he wasn't. It's 2 different lifestyles, and I was actually starting to really do the things. I moved into sober living a day away from a drink and a drug. A day away. God, I don't know.
A day sober, you move right into sober living.
I think I still had coke in my system, but the woman that had let me move back into her house, I needed a little bit more of a tough sober living. She let me come in and I just hit the ground running.
So you had a bunch of relapses. What did you do different this time versus all of those other times?
So that's why so I was out for the 6 years. I didn't draw a sober breath. And when I came back to Florida, it took me like 2 or 3 times, just to kind of like figure out what was going on because I hadn't done it in a long time. And I started reaching out to other people. I started actually hitting my knees. I started actually doing the work and just taking the suggestions. Like I was so done. I'm like, whatever, like I'm done. I don't have it in me anymore. I want to feel better because the other thing is on top of a vicious drug addiction, I had an eating disorder. I was a self-harmer. Cutting was my vice. Cutting made me feel better internally. I didn't want to cut anymore, and I was doing it in sobriety in the beginning because like I was still in this verbally abusive relationship sober my first year, so I had to figure that out, so there was a lot that happened in the beginning, of my sobriety. I dove in, the gym is a huge thing. So I dove into the gym because I didn't want my eating disorder to take over. So I did it however I could. And I had to figure out how to let go of that relationship, and it has been a huge part of my addiction and sobriety is holding on to the tools. The 12 steps, reaching out to other women, calling my sponsor every day, going to meetings, collecting women's numbers. I collected in 6 months 67 people's numbers that I texted every single morning. Just good mornings, just to hold it was a joke. Like if you were on the list, like because I would just try to hold myself accountable because it's by the grace of God, I didn't go out my first year with that relationship. I'll never forget I had 6 months sober. I finally finished my 4-step because I sat on it. Being in a toxic, verbally abusive relationship with your drug dealer boyfriend of 6 years while you're trying to get sober in a 12-step program, not easy. I finished my 4-step. I did my 5th step. I did my 5th step on the beach. My sponsors, she was the best. You know, she was the best.
Still your sponsor now?
She's not.
Okay, someone
She
else.
was the first 2 years. I actually have her same tattoo as hers. The
Wow.
shopping cart, and those are her initials.
Wow.
Yeah, because she carried me through.
She saved your life.
She loved me unconditionally no matter what. She supported the relationship if I wanted. She didn't, she did, whatever. Because there was a glimpse where I would set up the foundation for him to come change his life. You know, the idea.
Yeah, you're gonna save him.
The dream, you know, like, hey, do you want to? He's like, I want to change too. I'm like, you can, like, and it didn't. And I will never forget, after doing my 5th step, the day after, I was like, we can't do this anymore. Like, and he let me go for the first time in 6 years. Like, he didn't hop on a plane and come try to find me, because that's happened. He didn't drive down here 12 hours and come to show up at my door, because that's happened. He let me go. He let me go, you know, and for the next 6 months, I just focused on myself. And I'm gonna share a few things, you know, if there was still little bits of it that we talked, and I still kept fighting the program and just going with it and doing it. And I meant fighting for the program and continuing to do it and continuing to do it. You know, I started managing sober living and all these things that were helping me grow more and more. But a part of me was still in Tennessee, you know, until, you know, 2 weeks before my birthday, I want to say my 32nd birthday, he got sentenced to prison. And I stopped hearing from him, you know, because there was still communication, you know, there was still communication. And we were starting to talk more and more and more, unfortunately, you know, and then he had to go to jail and was just going to do a little bit. And then I stopped hearing from him 2 weeks before my 32nd birthday. Gone. Found out he got hit with 20 years.
For what?
Just all kinds of stuff. They were building cases forever. I mean, there's just so much, you know. I'm just grateful that a lot of those years I got out, so I wasn't there. And I didn't hear from him for 2.5 years. So I heard from him on my anniversary this year. So that was why my recovery was so difficult. You know, I had something was ripped from me, you know, all day, every day for 6 years, just gone. And I am grateful. You know, a lot of people have asked me, why aren't you mad? For what? If that man didn't stop calling me, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair with you right now. If he kept calling me, I probably would have been flying up to Tennessee. I probably would have been, God only knows what I would have been doing. I wouldn't have the life I have today. And as hard as it was and as painful as it was and the crying and because at the end of the day, him walking away, you know, let's go back to daddy issues, daddy walking away, like it's all the same, you know, it's all the same. And I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful.
God really did for you what you couldn't do for yourself by putting him away for 20 years.
Yeah. And he didn't call me. He stopped calling me. And I think that's work. And that's the important part, you know, because I continue to just have to dive in, you know, and that's why I'm grateful that I have and had such a grateful mentor. Like she took me under her wing, you know, and I transferred all my codependency onto her. You know, I did, and I'm grateful I did because she saved me. You know, he left, and I like I said, I didn't hear from him for 2.5 years, and this year on my anniversary, he called me, and I about died. You know, you wait for so long for that phone call, and you eventually stop thinking about it, and then it came. So I said thank you. I said, thank you for letting me go. No resentment. None at all.
What did he say when you said that?
He was proud. And he had to let me go. He said, because you're a diamond in the rough and I had to let you go. He knew that he was the problem. You know, and that, like I said, as much chaos and toxicity as it was, I give him grace for that.
Yeah.
Like, that man let me go. You know, I was able to grow into the woman that I am today. I was able to blossom, I was able to become my own self. I was able to like build a life, and my mom always said like, my mom's a road dog. She adored him regardless, we just weren't good together. We're like I told you in the beginning, we are all our own individuals and our own people. And I love people unconditionally no matter what. And I have a beautiful life today because somebody let me go. Because I allowed myself to be in that relationship. We teach people how to treat us. And that's why it's taken me so many years to get back to where I'm at. But thankfully, with the program, with my sponsor, with the women around me, and like honestly, with my job, being able to have that job that I have and like dive into other people, that saved me. That saved me. It helped me grow because I was a very immature little girl when I came in. And it helped me grow up because you have to be selfless. It can't be all about you. You got to help other people, put other people first. And I grew up. I grew up the past 5 years. I grew up, like I matured, and that's cool. Like, that's fucking dope. Being able to grow up in this program and still growing. I'm still healing every day, I realized a lot this year that I'm not as healed as I thought I was.
None of us are.
I'm in a amazing relationship today with my best friend.
How did you meet him?
Okay.
Can we go? Let's talk about the good relationship. How long ago did you guys meet?
So we met. Mind
Is he sober?
He is. He's
amazing.
Our anniversaries are 3 days apart. We met. He's been out of prison for almost 4 years.
That's great.
Yeah, I can't wait for him to come on because he's spent a good chunk of his life in prison, and what he's doing today is amazing. We met right before my 2 years, right before his 1 year. He asked me to speak for him. I was like, sure, like cool. And we were friends ever since. And it was the first man that didn't like try to just like, I just had a good friendship with. He was just my boy. He was cool. Like we just vibed. But like I look back now and every time I saw him, he always wore me up. Because I was always in so much, I told you, I was always in so much pain. I always had a lot going on in my head, but like he always made me feel warm. It was always like that. I always got super excited to see him. So you look back now and the way that God developed our relationship is really, really cool. Like God knew before we did. And then we would have our moments. It's funny because like we would have our quiet moments sometimes. I wouldn't talk to him or I wouldn't hear from him. And I always thought like, I never thought if I didn't hear from him, he was like getting high. I was like, yo, are you in prison? And then last May, so it's been over a year now, we're just gonna do this, like a light bulb went off on him, and because of some of my issues, it's taken me a minute. It's, and that's where I'm at now, like to really fully, like he is the first person I've ever truly been in love with.
Wow.
Like I actually like can feel the soul tie connection. He's brought the little girl out in me, which is cool because I'm always the tough, hard, like strong, and I don't have to do that. I can just be soft. I can just be feminine and be the woman, and like I've never had that. I've always had to be the tough one, always, survival mode. And he is a lot of the reasons why, like over the past year and a half, I started, going to weddings. I started going to baby showers. I started coming back out of my shell, because I kind of like hid behind my job, like him and his friends would always say after, a meeting, you want to go fellowship. And I was, no, like, I'm going to go to my Nook. I'm good. They'd always ask me if I want to go out to eat. They eventually stopped asking. And then, I don't know, one day, we just looked at each other and that was it. We just like, all right, we're going to give it a shot. And it was different the first year because you're in that phase of like, loving your best friend, and I have my issues, he has his issues, and like figuring each other out, like 80-20, like what's, all of this stuff, meeting his needs, meeting my needs, you learn a lot about yourself when you're in a relationship with other people. and you get very comfortable, and a little over a month ago, he's like, he left. I drove him out because my defects came out hard.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that they did because I dove back into filling my cup up. Like this summer has been such a trivial moment for me with filling my cup up and really like knowing what I want and need and knowing what he wants and needs, knowing what other people wants and needs and being the best version of myself. And we made a decision and like we grew together through it and like we both did it the same way. We didn't get in relationships in our early sobrieties, and like the way God just grew our relationship together is, and he's a huge man of God, which is interesting with my history, so I've learned a lot more through that. But it's cool. I have a really good relationship today, like a great one. My man adores me.
Yeah.
And I love him, and he's a big teddy bear.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on.
100%.
You are a warrior. Go ahead.
Speaking of warrior, that's funny you say that because working out, I just want to add this. Fitness is a huge thing.
Mhm.
And anybody that's listening, like dive into things that you love. Dive into things that fill you up. Find your passions. Do that because that's what I do today. I'm a workout warrior. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point. I mean, tapping into some of the things I used to do as a child when I
Yeah.
first got sober, and even doing things that I never would have done in the past
Yeah.
helped me keep an open mind to other things.
Yeah,
And it bled out in other areas of my life.
Exactly. And that's why I know we're running low.
No, we're good.
I wanted to touch on the fitness thing because as much as I do what I do for other women and running their houses, I wanted to be a trainer. And my second year sober, I got my certifications, and my mentor, she helped me continue to progress. And today now, like Passion Fit, that's my thing. They call me Passion Fit because I'm passionate about fitness. And I take my training and I utilize it for women in recovery. I have my Sunday class called Fellowship in Fitness. It's for women to just come and feel strong and empowered and support each other through recovery. As much as I'm a trainer for physical aspect, I'm a trainer for mental, spiritual, and physical. Like that's what my things are, and I just started this competition for Maximum Magazine. It's this workout.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
No big deal.
It's Workout Warrior is the thing. That's what made me think of it.
Yeah.
This thing popped up on Instagram called Workout Warrior. I was like, all right, like shits and giggles. Let me give it a shot. And I started progressing. I started leveling up. And I have one more round to win until I make it to the interview round for like a fitness modeling thing. And like, I was mind blown. And that's what led me to you because I was mind blown at how many people I was inspiring that you can come back from anything. I can come back from a drug addict stripper to now applying to a competition that people that I've known my whole life are voting every day. And I was like, I want to put more of my story out there. And that's really how I decided. I saw Brittany and then I saw you and I was like, okay, I want to put more of my story out.
Yeah.
Because of fitness.
What would you if the last qualifying round was pussy pickup? Let's go.
Oh my God. I would have to definitely tap out right there. I'd be like, this is not me. I'm done.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the vulnerability, some of the things you shared, and you did it just to help someone else who was in your position.
That's it.
At a younger age,
That's it.
to show that.
I think it's very difficult for people to get open and honest about, especially like women. It's hard for them, and it's never been hard for me. I say it brutally and honestly because I say the things that people don't want to say. And that's just how I feel, that's just me. Yeah. I want to help people. I want to make other people not be so ashamed. I don't be proud of everything you've been through because it is okay. Be proud of it,
Well, thank you again.
Of course.